Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Sofa Series Artist Spotlight. Today, with me, all the way from Reykjavik, Iceland, is Berglind María Tómasdóttir. She is a flutist and performance artist and an experimental musician. And thank you so much for joining me.
Thanks for having me.
My pleasure. So tell us a little bit about, well, I just said it, you're from Reykjavik, but what has been your journey around the world to get back home to Reykjavik?
Yeah. Uh, well, I'm a flutist and I studied flute in Iceland and in Europe, and then spent some years in Reykjavik working as a musician, doing different things. I was also a radio host and stuff like that. And then about 12 years ago, I decided to do some further studies and started the program where I met you at UCSD,
Ah.
the performance program at UCSD. And it's been a while now since I moved back again.
Mhm.
And I've more or less, like most of the time working, uh, doing I've been working as a associate professor at the Iceland University of the Arts.
Hmm. So let's talk a little bit about how did you come into your performance art practice, where you have you invent these characters, this kind of fictional mythological character. How did you come into that project? So I guess that was the local project, which is what you presented for our Sofa series.
Mm-hmm.
How did she come about?
Yeah, well, she came about when I was still studying in San Diego, and she sort of came out of the idea of making an instrument that was sort of more or closer to these traditional Icelandic instruments that I knew of,
Hmm.
such as the langspiel,
The
which
what?
the langspiel, it's called langspiel. It's
Lounge.
it's it's basically half of the lokkur, the instrument that you see in the videos that are presented here in the Sofa series. This instrument is made of this traditional Icelandic instrument put together with a spinning wheel, just a
Hmm.
traditional spinning wheel. Uh, so yeah, and it sort of was born out of the idea to make like a fake traditional instrument.
Hmm. Why
Yeah.
fake? Why not just play the what is it? I'm sorry. Let me try. The Lauschspiel? No? No.
Yeah, I guess I was sort of interested in creating this narrative about like creating like a myth of
Hmm.
sorts
Hmm.
about a person that existed and like a tradition that I wanted to sort of give a status or elevate.
Hmm.
And I felt it would make sense to just sort of make it up, but in a realistic way.
Hmm.
And I was playing around with ideas such as somebody moving to, well, first I was working with the idea of people from Iceland, like Icelandic settlers that would have settled down in California, Southern California, actually sort of Salton Sea area
Hmm.
in the early 20th century, and
Hmm.
sort of using a lot of known facts from just Icelandic settlers in Canada and wherever they went.
Hmm.
Well, mostly North Dakota, Canada, uh, that area,
Wait,
Winnipeg.
that's real?
Yeah,
There were Icelandic
yeah, a
settlers everywhere.
lot of people. Yeah, like
Huh.
at least hundreds. Yeah, probably hundreds.
Can't even
Um, yeah, so really many people moving from like late 19th century and early 20th century, and not only Iceland but also the other Scandinavian countries. And I mean, there are big communities in well, in many places, but you would find it in North Dakota and around that around there, like
imagine.
northern states,
Hmm. Hmm.
and these like Winnipeg area, like Canada.
Uh-huh.
and even also West Coast, like Seattle,
Okay.
Vancouver, I think.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so how,
So,
so I guess, yeah, so the idea then is to take this sort of ice princess and put her in the desert. And then what happens, you know? Right?
yeah, yeah.
And so is
I
it
mean,
about,
yeah,
go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
yeah. No, so that was it. I mean, that was the idea. That was I mean, the predecessor of Lokur is another instrument I made together with Joe Marillo, who is also
Joe.
being presented in the Soba series, or like as a part of it. And that was like the original story, like an Icelandic settler in Southern California. And the Rokkur was a predecessor. It was like a combination of a guitar and a kid's bike. That was that
Yeah.
instrument that you see in one of the two short videos in the
Yeah.
Sofa series. And then when
The hybrid culture of Southern California can be traced to numerous nationalities immigrating at the turn of the 20th century. Rock River Mary emigrated from the Netherland region of Iceland, hoping only to make money to send home. Instead, she built a life here. When Rock River Mary arrived in Imperial County, her homeland was still under Danish colonial rule. Because she had previous farming experience, the Imperial Valley was a natural choice. There is a saying in Icelandic that you are not a real Icelander unless you own some land. Rock River Mary certainly took that to heart, laboring and saving her money toward the goal of a farm all her own. While working in the fields, she would recite Rimur, the traditional chanting of epic poems, and the Icelanders' way of surviving the long, cold, gloomy winters in their rural homeland. So too, chanting Rimur would become a way to survive under the blistering sun of California, and would achieve great popularity among the people of Imperial Valley.
And then when I moved back, I made the other one, which is the instrument I already told you about, and that looks like an old instrument.
Yeah,
And then
it feels nostalgic because
yeah,
because of the mechanism of the spinning wheel is so outdated that I'm sure that there
mm,
definitely are people who use spinning wheels. For example, Christine Tavalacci, another
yeah,
flutist friend of ours. But yeah, it definitely does have this sort of harkening back quality that
mm-hmm,
that maybe the kids, this like bright neon kids bicycle maybe
mm-hmm,
doesn't
mm-hmm,
as much. Right.
mm-hmm.
And so then,
Yeah.
yeah, so I guess then you had to learn how to play this new made up instrument.
Yeah, well, the funny thing is that it's been a while now, but so it's not as if I've been sort of constantly working on it or anything like that, and I haven't. I mean, sort of what interested me the most was creating this narrative and this idea, and then sort of doing different performances, sort of putting it in a context. I guess the music side of it, I mean, yes, I've been working on it recently, and there, like, hopefully later this year there will be a release with local music.
Mhm.
But I mean, I haven't really been there's not a lot that has happened per
Mhm.
se. I mean, I've
Mhm.
used it in sort of improvisational context, like I've done improv with it.
Mhm.
And I mean, like as in traditionally playing using scales and stuff, that's all very just primitive. I mean, I mean, I haven't really I haven't become a virtuoso in the classical sense. But then again, I am the virtuoso because I'm the one, or the
You
only one
you are the
who knows
one.
it.
You know the oral
Yeah.
history, the tradition, but so maybe you're not going to learn to play some Bach partitas on it or something.
Yeah, that's a funny idea. Yeah, I mean it would make more sense than to use like just a long spiel.
Hmm.
But I mean, it's a very simple instrument. It's just two strings, and you like traditionally long spiel, which is it looks like a sitar almost, or like a
Hmm.
fiddle, like the old fiddle. I
Hmm.
don't know if you even call it a fiddle in English. I'm
Hmm.
talking about just the body, the string instrument part of the lokkur. Uh, you traditionally use a bow playing it.
Mm. Hmm.
So it's like a sitar, I guess,
Okay.
using a bow and just you know playing
Hmm.
playing using your like fingers
Yeah.
to for pitch changes. Yeah.
Where does that instrument come from? What is it? How far back does that go?
Oh, yeah. Should I prepared these kind of questions? I guess you always find these like, wouldn't you? I would. My guess is like Middle Ages,
Yeah.
and you probably find very like versions of it all over Europe,
Yeah. And
and
in Asia too, I
like
think this sort of this style of a stringed instrument, I think,
yeah,
is pervasive all
yeah.
around the
Well,
globe.
yeah. Well, this is I like langspiel is a word. I mean, now I forgot, but a similar instrument in Scandinavia. I'm not sure if it's called like maybe it's called fiddle. I'm not sure.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
And then my latest project, hopefully starting this year, is to make like an updated version, like building it from scratch of the lokkur. So I
Hmm.
have a collaborator here who's a fiddle maker, like not a fiddle violin maker, a proper violin maker.
For
He's
real.
like he's gonna help me build like a new version of it,
Wow.
like with basically kind of a modern, more streamlined, more functional in a way. I mean, because the old locker is kind of cranky and all, like, which gives it charms as well. But
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
I figured why not? I mean, I've thought about it and then I sort of left the idea, but I'm like, yeah, let's try it.
But then doesn't that add a
But
little pressure? Then do you have to actually learn to play it?
yeah, maybe I will start playing Bach when that is like that instrument on the instrument when that one is ready because it's going to be so good.
Yeah,
I'm gonna be
so
like, I
good.
can play everything on this. So yeah, that will probably be like when they were using theremin at the time and always doing the arias.
Ah,
You know
you
how
read
they.
my mind. I was just
Oh
going to
yeah,
say
yeah.
that.
Like this is a real instrument. I can play real music.
Yeah, and
Yeah, it's
yeah.
gonna be totally like that.
Wait, I can't wait to hear you play the swan on it.
Yeah, yeah. That is obviously the ultimate goal.
That's it.
Yeah.
And then people will write symphonies for it, and then you'll be the master
Yeah.
soloist, the only person with the tradition. It'll be great.
Yeah. It will be great.
It will
Yeah.
be.
Yeah.
I also wanted to ask you a little bit about your caravan project. So where did this idea come germinate? Like where did it come from? What was the project about? What was the goal? What did you do? What is the caravan project?
Hmm. Yeah. So I traveled in a caravan. Uh, around Iceland, and this is like way back in 2011. It's been a while, and sort of, I mean, I wanted to make like just sort of, yeah, to sort of to just try to take this sort of concept of giving like recitals or playing for people in an unusual setting. Just very much just to see how it feels. I mean, and also being curious about how like the differences and like what happens and stuff like that. And then I guess, I mean, I wasn't like, here I am and I'm this character doing this. The character more like sort of developed through the project.
Yeah, because you're a cowgirl. You're a cowgirl running, touring around Iceland, and you invite. It was that you had invite guests into the caravan, which I guess in the U.S. it's like like an Airstream trailer, like a motorhome, right? And so you invite, and it can only fit maybe a couple of people, right, at a time. And what sorts of things would you play for them?
Yeah, I mean, I played just different tunes and like Bach.
Yeah.
A lot of Bach and a lot of like songs, and then like, I mean, flute repertoire, really. Sort of like greatest hits of the flute. Like the flute's greatest hits throughout my flute career, you know. So this would be typically like also just French impressionistic music or Baroque, and then a few newer songs, but or like new music as well, but you know, not too much. Yeah.
So what do you think you got out of playing in such a confined, so for me that what I'm kind of drawn to is that the caravan itself is so small, and then it is situated in the vastness of like Icelandic, wilderness, right? That it's these big open spaces and big sky and the earth and the dirt, and then this really little place to come into this little closet,
Yeah, this little ugly place.
It's not totally ugly.
Or I mean, sort of very, very, just a caravan. Yeah, it is what it is.
It's
it
humble.
was just I didn't really do anything, like I didn't make any set design inside the caravan. It was just like what it was. I mean, yeah. Sorry, what was the question?
The question. Is there really no question?
No.
No. So what did you draw from that in playing in such a confined space?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the way I think about it is very much, I guess, coming from the experiencing, like the experience of creating the documentary about the thing, more than maybe what I really got out of it, because I spent way more time editing and just looking through the footage and sort of doing that, and then trying to come up with this narrative inside the documentary, like what is the story. But I mean, it was an interesting experience. What happened most of the time is that, I mean, it was like people trying to read, like sort of figure out what this was, like who is this person and what is this thing, and then like typically saying, oh, it's an arts project, oh, it's this, or like, sort of trying to situate it.
Yeah.
But I mean, so I guess most of the time it was just like sort of not a lot of interest.
Yeah.
Just very displaced.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, they were very good listeners in between.
Hmm.
And these were the best listeners were kids that were sort of, yeah, okay. They were totally got into it. And also French tourists that were biking around Iceland and like very much like endless time doing it for 6 weeks or something, not in a hurry.
Yeah. Yeah.
But most people were in a hurry.
In a
Yeah.
hurry to just get
Yeah,
out.
sort of. Yeah, just like, no, I don't, no, please
Yeah.
go away.
Yeah. No,
Like,
thank
because
you.
I started to sort of try to, I was inviting people. I went to places and was like, can you come and listen to, do you want to come to a show? Because
Yeah.
I just went around and played wherever there were people.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm.
Ég held að ég sé í smá spennufalli út af því að ég var svo spennt að fara og þetta gekk mjög vel í gær en það er náttúrulega bara eitthvað að taka allt inn og vera búin að, að fara frá hugmyndinni yfir í veruleikan sem er það að vera akkurat núna með þetta hjólhýsi og þessar upplifanir sem að við fórum í gegnum í gær. Innra með mér að mér finnst tónlistarlega ég mætti vera meira einhvern veginn með sjálfa mig á hreinu en ég held að sé hluti af stærra máli sem var að reyna að útskýra þetta með mitt tónlistarlega identitet, hvert það raunverulega er. Ég held ég þurfa að eyða bara lítinn tíma í að einhvern veginn að fara inn í eitthvað svona heim þar sem ég leita þessu.
Well, it's funny that you're asking about this. I haven't really thought about this project for a while now, but yeah, I mean, it was definitely an interesting experience, and I guess a part of sort of me sort of waving or saying goodbye or sort of saluting this concept of the classical concert setting. Mm-hmm. Having thought a lot about it at that time and sort of what is this, not wanting to have anything to do with it, trying to sort of break out of it and figuring out my practice, like where it wanted to go at the time.
Yeah. And
not really knowing how to go about it, not being maybe figuring out that I was way more interested in the performing aspects of the thing, mm-hmm. rather than going super deep down into like the music tunnel. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Like as in sound tunnel at that time, way more sort of occupied with the idea of the just this as a societal concept.
Yeah.
This
the concert hall and putting putting
and just
the artifacts.
And this whole package, whether it's classical music or new art music.
Well, I mean,
this package.
Yeah, well, to that's sort of your art project, right? So mm-hmm. then you're sort of confronting the concert hall by not mm-hmm. playing in the concert hall, and you're playing mm-hmm. you're struggling through the flute piece by Brian Fernyhough, which is it's not an impossible piece to play, but it is not easy. It takes a lot of math, and so in that project, what were you? I guess what was the conceit? So you were like learning the piece, right? You were practicing it in the lobby of this brand new, brilliant, beautiful like architectural sculpture of this like it's just gorgeous. And so what is the what why that piece in that lobby, and why did you decide to invite people into the like the practice process?
Yeah, I guess that was also like deconstructing this concept of the package of like how we present music in a live setting in this field. I mean, at that time, I'd just been to the Darmstadt Summer Academy and sort of facing that sort of that whole thing, the Darmstadt legacy, really, and sort of yeah. I mean, the idea somehow was born out of being there, and yeah, and also just I guess at that time finding it ridiculous to. I mean, I don't know. I think I was just very much thinking about how like. Yeah, I guess just making like doing another take on how to present this process of a piece.
And it's so specific to this piece and this composer, right? So for those who don't know the music of Fernie Ho, his music it looks like lace. The visual picture is really striking of the notes on the page, and it's overwhelming. Like the first time I ever looked at a score, I was like, okay, no, thank you. I don't really the amount of hours that would go into preparing a measure of it, let alone the entirety of it. It just, for me, the payoff never seemed worth it, And so I kind of, I don't know, I really respond to the notion, like, did you ever perform the piece?
No, I mean, I
No.
haven't been interested enough in the piece as like for me to play it. I mean, so many people have played this piece, and like it doesn't like on that level speak to me. It was more uh, sort of the idea of doing something like that, looking at that, like that was my interest. And I actually took that, like recorded all the practicing and put that together. And I'm still thinking about if I should do something with that as such, because I just really like I presented it as like, okay, here's like a pile of me practicing Fernie Howe in this place at that time. But no, I haven't done it. I don't think that I will, because I don't find the interest to do it. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not interested, at least I haven't been.
Yeah. It's
Who
a
knows?
lot of time. I mean, do you have the time to put into that again?
Yeah, or I mean, why should I spend all this time?
Why?
You have to really want it. I mean,
Yeah.
there are other things that I'm more interested in.
Yeah. Well, what are you interested in these days?
Well, I'm actually writing about the Lockwood project. So I want to like the release, like to release some sort of a Lockwood like music book. And I still would want to make some sort of a documentary on the whole project. So that is what I'm working on now when I'm working on something. I
Yeah.
mean, uh, as I said previously, I mean, a lot of my time is spent on being a faculty at the university here.
Yeah.
So, the time that I've got, this is like a priority now to sort of make this happen, because I've been wanting to do it now for years. And I'm like, wow, okay, it's actually been like how many years?
It's been a
It's been
while.
5, yeah, it's been 5 years now since I presented Lochgur for the first time. And then I've done every year I've done like something with it, like a project of sorts. And then last year I started making recordings. So I recorded some of the pieces that were like composed by composers for Lakur.
Really?
So yeah. So this is it's happening. I'm working on this.
Oh,
Yeah,
good. Good.
yeah,
That's great. I have a
yeah.
question for you about like how did you come to improvisation? I don't know. I think that many of us who come through the classical music tradition, improvisation isn't necessarily encouraged, or maybe it's just not nurtured for the oh.
Sorry, sorry.
So,
I fell down a little bit.
oh my God. So how did you come into improvisation and maybe even into composing your own pieces?
Well, I mean, a lot of this, what I do now, sort of came about when I was at UC San Diego.
Mhm.
I mean, it was a game changer for me, just giving myself, like allowing myself to have time and space to work on my own practice. Because what I've done previously was like sort of very like doing like it was a conservatory training, classical music, sort of focus on orchestral playing, and never really, and I wasn't really interested in that. So
Mhm.
what I did was like I developed this practice of doing like commissioning piecing and doing ensemble playing, mostly like new music. And as I told you, being like working a lot at the national radio here, and
Mhm.
that was fun actually. And I've always done a little bit of that,
Mhm.
both while at UCSD and after I moved back. Not a lot, but just a little bit. It's yeah, I like it a lot. Uh, but improvisation, I mean, it really. I started doing improvisation more or less at
Mhm.
UCSD,
Yeah.
and I just remember being involved in projects where, you know, a big group would be playing to this. You were probably a part of it too, like this film. Was it Metropolis or something?
Oh, that was it was
Yeah.
Megan and was that not Martin Paul Hembry? Was it a Paul Hembry and was it no was
Yeah,
it the
no, I'm not.
Dracula? No.
No, but no, it was Metropolis.
Oh, I was that was not me. Uh-uh.
No. Okay. I mean, that was like just being a part of that was like, oh
Yeah.
yeah, okay. And then just, you know, always just doing something on the like, yeah, while being there. And I guess it was also just being around people that like that that were actively doing that.
Mm-hmm.
You
Mm-hmm.
know, it was contagious, like the
Yeah.
coronavirus. No, 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 no. Ha ha.
No!
Yeah.
Terrible.
Terrible, terrible. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean
And
it was this kind of strange it's a strange place, it's a strange program, but it always everything felt like playtime, that it was the time that we could all just sort of explore like everybody
mhm.
else's practice in a way, you know? I
Yeah,
kind of you
yeah,
try on everybody's thing and you find the right formula of things that
yeah,
makes you up as a musician,
yeah,
and then you go from there. It's an interesting
yeah,
time.
yeah. And then I mean, I I wish I'd do more of it, more regularly.
Hmm.
But I try to just do it with the people that I play with,
Yeah.
like when I'm playing with people. So yeah. Hmm.
Well, Berglind, thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy schedule of being a mom and and a teacher and a flutist and an experimental artist and a documentary filmmaker and an author. And what else do? You play on pop records sometimes too, and you
Yeah.
go on
And my
tour.
Yeah, that's Well, not at the moment. I mean,
No.
no one is touring, obviously.
No.
But yeah, that's been fun too. But my latest thing is being a gardener.
A gardener.
Yeah, we have this lovely weather in Iceland now, and it's been so much fun just doing some gardening and like, especially with like stuff that you can eat, to plant,
Yeah.
to grow the salad and all the good stuff. So
How do things grow when there's sun all the time? Doesn't do you have to put shade?
well, it's obviously not California, so we just have to be very, clever about because it's kind of a sad story if you try to grow things that don't, you know, that don't really grow in this climate. I mean,
Right,
you know,
right.
I guess that's a very also metaphoric way of just in general. So you just need to, it's really about just figuring out what really likes, what stuff wants to grow here.
Yeah, yeah.
And my sort of very favorite edible plant at the moment is the rhubarb.
Though, oh, that's
Yeah, I
my
have so much
favorite.
rhubarb. So when you come for visit, we can have rhubarb, everything with rhubarb.
Rhubarb pies, those are my
Yeah,
favorite.
yeah,
Those are
yeah,
so good.
yeah. And rhubarb loves being in Iceland. It's like,
Really?
yeah, rhubarb loves it here.
Great.
Yeah.
That's fabulous.
Hmm.
All right. Well, thank you again for taking the time. I really, really, really appreciate it. I appreciate you and all of the work that you do. You're absolutely wonderful.
Oh, thank you. Thanks for having me. I'm so honored to be a part of this.
My pleasure.
Yeah, it's a little bit of reunion too.
Yeah, it is. We got all the gang back together. Very nostalgic. All right. Bye.
Bye.